You walk up to the self-checkout kiosk with a handful of items. You scan the first barcode, wait for the beep, and place the item in the bag. Everything feels efficient and entirely in your control. But when you scan the next item, the screen suddenly freezes. A red light flashes above you. Assistance needed. You look around, only to see a single employee currently trying to help 3 other confused shoppers. The line behind you begins to grow. Self-checkout was supposed to make shopping faster, easier, and endlessly efficient. So why are so many Americans becoming frustrated with the experience? And why are some of the country's largest stores beginning to rethink the very technology they spent years expanding? For decades, the American grocery experience followed a predictable rhythm. A shopper navigated the aisles, filled a cart, and then handed the work over to a professional. A cashier stood at the end of a conveyor belt, scanning barcodes with practiced speed, weighing produce, and carefully bagging the items. The customer's only job was to pay. But as retail corporations sought ways to lower operating costs and optimize floor space, a new alternative emerged with a very compelling promise. Self-checkout kiosks were introduced as the ultimate convenience. They offered shorter lines, faster exits, and the ability for a store to process more transactions using fewer staffed registers. The shift, however, fundamentally changed the nature of the transaction. By removing the cashier, the store did not eliminate the work of checking out. The work had not disappeared. Part of it had simply moved from the employee to the shopper. Suddenly, the person buying the groceries was also responsible for finding the barcode, navigating the digital menu to identify the correct variety of apples, weighing the produce, and arranging the bags so as not to trigger a system error. For a long time, millions of Americans gladly accepted this new arrangement. In exchange for performing the labor of a cashier, shoppers were granted speed, privacy, and control. If you only needed a carton of milk and a box of cereal, you could bypass the long lines at the traditional registers, scan your own items in silence, and walk out the door without making small talk. It felt like a triumph of modern efficiency, a frictionless system designed for a retail culture increasingly built around speed and convenience. The kiosks quickly multiplied, transforming from a novelty into a dominant feature of supermarkets, pharmacies, and big-box retailers across the country. The system works remarkably well right up until the exact moment it does not. The reality of self-checkout is that it is highly sensitive to the context of the trip. When a transaction is simple, the machine is a marvel. But as the complexity of the purchase increases, the convenience rapidly begins to dissolve. A customer with a fully loaded shopping cart soon discovers that scanning dozens of items requires a surprising amount of spatial awareness and physical coordination. A barcode is wrinkled and refuses to read. A coupon fails to register. A customer attempts to buy a bottle of wine or a basic over-the-counter medication, immediately halting the machine until a human employee can walk over to verify their age. Research into self-checkout has highlighted this exact problem. As basket size increases, so does the likelihood of a scanning error. One analysis found that a basket of 20 items carried roughly a 30% probability of at least one error. With 100 items, that probability approached 90%. The larger the cart becomes, the harder it is to preserve the simplicity self-checkout was designed to provide. In these moments, the inherent paradox of the system becomes highly visible. The technology removed the dedicated cashier from the lane, but it did not remove the friction of retail. Instead, it fractured the checkout process. The customer absorbs the physical labor of scanning and bagging, while the retail worker is transformed into a roaming supervisor, tasked with monitoring half a dozen glowing screens at once, clearing error codes, and mitigating the frustrations of confused shoppers. Yet, Americans aren't simply rejecting self-checkout. They are divided over it. A 2026 survey found that when checkout lines are equal, 46% of shoppers choose the kiosk, while 44% prefer a staffed register. The preference for automation remains strong for many who want to set their own pace and value the anonymity of the transaction. Convenience depends entirely on who you are, what you are buying, and whether the scanner successfully registers the barcode on the first try. But consumer frustration is only half of the equation. There is someone else watching the screen, and they are facing a completely different set of problems. The self-checkout model relies on a profound level of trust. It asks customers to accurately scan and pay for the exact items they intend to take home. But giving the public direct access to the scanning process inevitably leads to errors. The problem is not limited to deliberate theft. Retail losses can also come from misscans, incorrect product selections, awkward barcodes, and ordinary mistakes. A major 2026 study involving 39 retailers found that store losses rose by an average of 22% in the first year after self-checkout was introduced. To protect their inventory, stores responded by wrapping the self-checkout area in layers of technology and surveillance. Kiosks were equipped with highly sensitive weight sensors designed to ensure the scanned item matched the bagged item. Cameras were installed directly at eye level, displaying the shopper's face back to them. Computer vision systems were deployed above the aisles to track movement, while employees were stationed at the exits to manually check paper receipts. This created a second striking paradox. The self-checkout kiosk was originally designed to reduce the amount of direct human interaction required to pay. Yet, to control the financial losses associated with self-checkout, stores increasingly need humans and sophisticated technology constantly watching the transaction. Consequently, the American retail landscape is undergoing a quiet correction. Rather than abandoning the technology entirely, America is experimenting with what self-checkout should become. Target, for example, rolled out a 10-item limit for its kiosks at most locations while investing in more staffed lanes, reporting that total transaction times improved by nearly 8%. Dollar General began sharply reducing self-checkout across its vast network, while Walmart has removed the technology from selected stores. The expansion of self-checkout is becoming more selective. Stores are no longer asking how many kiosks they can possibly install. Instead, they are asking a much more complicated question: where does self-checkout actually make sense? Back at the kiosk, the busy employee finally reaches your register. With a quick tap of an override card on the screen, the red light vanishes. You scan your final item, process your payment, and walk out the door. The entire delay may have only lasted a few seconds. Yet, in that brief moment, the quiet evolution of American retail is fully visible. The customer has become the cashier. The employee has become the supervisor. The camera has become the observer. A machine designed entirely to eliminate friction has ultimately manufactured a brand new type of friction. Self-checkout probably isn't disappearing from American life. But after decades of asking customers to do more for themselves, America is beginning to ask a different question. How much convenience is actually being gained?